Oh, well, we just show up, huh? Here's the big debate actually going across the United States of America right now. TAC Med. Should we arm our first responders with guns? Okay. You know what? I would probably crap my pants if that really happened to me. Hey everybody, this is Chris the Cop with Gameology. Today we're looking at Cyberpunk. What is policing going to look like in the year 2077? Well, we're about to find out. What Cyberpunk 2077 reminds me of is Blade Runner. It has that Blade Runner look to it. There's probably a generation of kids who are like thinking the Blade Runner that came out in the 21st century, right? So what's funny from this look is we're not too far off from this look yet, being outfitted like this. Cars, maybe a little while before we get armored around our tires. I'm digging the LED screen on the side of the police car. Is the police car going to change being from a police car to a taxi? I mean, what reason? It is Cyberpunk 2077, right? So we got to make everything look cool. Interesting on the helmets. But see, here on the police, if you really look at it, besides like the way their boots are and stuff like that, we've now seen a lot of police departments go into that outer tactical vest. What some people don't realize is that there's actually some science built about the outer tactical vest, that it actually saves the backs of police officers. If you look at the police officers from like the 1940s and 50s, they wore the strap across the shoulder. That strap was designed to keep the weight off of the gun and keep more weight distributed on the hips to lessen the back injuries. But today, if you look at police officers, you see these outer tactical vests. I can carry the gear that's normally on my hips now on my vest, and then more of the weight's now on the shoulders. But what's surprising though, to be honest with okay. Yeah. You know what? I would probably crap my pants if that really happened to me, where I'm all of a sudden standing there and some body drops in front of me. It's like, how do you recover from that?
Not my face.
I think we're all addicted to GTA because they all do it the same way.
Hey.
Doing
All right, we got to make sure.
Get out of the car, you pint-sized.
Once again, shooting at cars. Have to be a real good reason to shoot at cars. Now we have a good reason. I'm a much better shot than that. Here's the interesting part about being a marksman as a police officer. Unless you take it upon yourself, most police officers are proficient with guns, but not the way Hollywood and video games portrays us. You gotta really go out there on your own and go to the firing range and practice monthly, if not weekly, to be very proficient at firearms. It's a skill that degrades over time, and if you don't practice, it's like any other skill, you're not going to be good at it. So I always tell younger officers, hey, spend the money, go to your own range, and practice being more proficient at your firearm. Here's the unfortunate part about the realism of that part of the game is that we are now seeing mass shootings like this across the world. So the world now has automatic weapons or auto weapons mounted to buildings. I don't know how I feel about that because it takes the human element out of this. What happens if the person isn't armed with a real gun? I believe there always has to be a human element when it comes to police use of force and police lethal use of force. Now, could it end a terrorist attack instantaneously? Yes, I guess, but as a society, we'd have to outweigh our rights and our freedoms to totally being safe. Oh, well, we just show up, huh? Well, Cyberpunk's like capturing everything from my childhood. We had a little Star Trek beaming in.
Live long and prosper.
I should say one of the complaints I get, people are like, what? It took you so long to respond, right? So being able to jump into a crime scene would be awesome. I would only hope that we wouldn't jump in like behind enemy lines. Like they at least jump us into a place where we would have the advantage.
It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground.
Yeah, it definitely would be helpful. I mean, you got to consider how long it takes a cop to respond to a particular incident, especially if it's the furthest away from their district. So yeah, definitely would be cool. These AI cops shoot worse than SWAT 4 cops, that's for sure. So everyone walking around Cyber City is armed with guns. Okay, well there's a dark 2077 for all of us. I guess he just beamed in. And we have a little AI drone there. Domestic violence. will never get one officer. It will get at least 2, if not 3 officers. As opposed to robbery alarm, you're going to have at least 4, 5, 6 officers responding to that robbery alarm, because we don't know if the robbery alarm is good or not good. There's a kind of like a matrix that a dispatch center uses. We have priority 1 calls, our robberies, our crimes in progress, and we have our priority 2 calls, your burglar alarms, your petty thefts, this type of stuff. Dependent on that level will depend on how many officers. Now in this situation, if you have an active shooter, everyone's going to be responding just because of what was actually happening. So if you have something like this playing out in a major metropolitan city, you may get multiple agencies responding in because of the amount of death and carnage that's being done here. You would hope with this many cops and this many robot cops that we could at least hopefully take down the suspect. I'm loving the zigzagging though this guy was doing. If you look at law enforcement and you look at the average police officer, many of us leave the job broken. I have tinnitus in my left ear. I have a torn shoulder muscle. I have a 3mm slip disc in my 3-4 spine, as well as I have a torn meniscus in my right knee that's folded underneath. So would I get cyber enhanced? Probably at this point in time, if it were to mean I'm not going to have arthritis when I finally retire. And unfortunately, like I said, those injuries that I have are the common injuries that most police officers get, on top of the PTSD that we develop. So yeah, maybe some enhancements would be good, because here's the thing. Can you imagine a 50-year-old cop chasing an 18-year-old kid? Because it seems like we just get older and our suspects stay younger. We got to get at least some advantage over those young kids. We do have drones available to us, but the drones are designed more for surveillance. We haven't really utilized them all too much. There was a lot of buzz around drones, and they kind of just like died down because I just don't think it's a usable resource. It is to kind of give you that top-down look, but it takes too long to get them going, and police stuff is fluid. I'm sure there's probably police agencies that are using drones the way they were meant to be used. You got to have some dedicated resources to utilize that drone. Evading the police. I'll give you a GTA experience. So you have an officer who finds a GTA vehicle, Grand Theft Auto vehicle, and chases it. And eventually the suspect exits the vehicle and they go into foot pursuit. A perimeter will be set up. Based upon how long the search is going, we could end it right away. But if we don't want to utilize those resources for that amount of time, the handling officer may say, you know what, I know who it is because we do have some repeat offenders. We'll just go by what we call way of complaint. In other words, they'll do the police report, send it to the detective, who will then send it to the DA's office. In that, it's really dependent on if we've searched the area enough and we feel like they're not in this perimeter anymore, that they were able to get out, we can call it. Sometimes that search can be as little as 10 minutes. It could be an hour. I've seen searches that last 4 or 5 hours because the crime dictated that we needed to keep searching for that bad guy, because it was somebody who had committed a rape and someone who had just shot up police officers. Those ones are going to go on for a long time. We may call in additional resources like dogs, helicopters, all that type of stuff. It just really depends on the nature of the crime and what the bad person has done previously and during this commission of the crime. So apparently in 2077, the electric small car loses, and we go back to the big diesel gas guzzling cars. I'm loving the cars that keep running over the cops. Oh, so we got cop medics here, huh? Here's the big debate actually going across the United States of America right now. TAC Med. Should we arm our first responders with guns? We see the accidents that law enforcement officers have with their handguns, and they're supposed to be the experts. Now we're going to give a weapon to an EMT or paramedic. Will they have those same accidents? Because there's a lot of responsibility that goes with that firearm. I think police should be trained to the level of an EMT, if not a paramedic. That would be helpful. But then again, too, we have to look at the flip side of EMTs and paramedics. They're responding into very hazardous situations now. Should they have the right to defend themselves? The short answer is yes. So what is the right answer? I don't know, but I do know that there's a lot of experts in this country right now that are debating this and trying to find that happy medium. But you got to think about it. It is a sad world that we're living in when you have to think about giving first responders guns. There's the bigger problem. I love the virtual tape. That would be actually kind of cool. Got our detective, it looks like. It's kind of cool. I'm liking it. We're getting close to being there, ladies and gentlemen. Not so much holographically, but we do have technology that allows us to reconstruct traffic collision scenes. And what they do is they put this camera in the middle of the scene, and it rotates 360 degrees, taking GPS coordinates from all of the evidence, and then it recreates it all, allowing crime scene reconstructionists to see how the vehicles were traveling and how they hit. That technology, it's still new, but it's getting better. The amount of cameras that are available now throughout the world, we'll be able to take that footage and reconstruct the crime based upon all these public cameras that are out there, as well as the cell phone camera footage that people are capturing on crime scenes. So we would get to see what happened in the eyes of the actual victim. What's interesting about cell phone cameras is people have said that it's changed policing. I've been a cop now for 24 years, and all it means is that someone's able to capture me, what I'm doing as far as my job. I still have to sometimes use profanity to get somebody's attention. My force hasn't changed. I use that force that is necessary to take someone into custody. I think it's captured more crime scenes, but it's also allowed people to not engage. Many people will just tape. They don't get involved as opposed to telling someone to stop what they're doing. So I think these cameras have desensitized our communities. It's really detrimental because people aren't so willing to help other people. And that's the unfortunate part of what these cameras. So do you get to help the cops? Unless I'm getting my butt handed to me, I pretty much want the public to stay away. But it has happened where police have had to kind of like deputize someone because they're in the middle of a fight. Up until a year ago, here in California, an officer could order somebody to help them. And if you didn't, you could actually be charged with a misdemeanor. But the governor recently signed a law, took that out of the penal code. So we can no longer kind of like deputize someone to help us, which is kind of sad because police are just regular people. I mean, we go through schools that make us better, but there are people who are still better than us when it comes to shooting and fighting, like ground fighting. Looking at these drones, I wonder how far off we are from having drones actually truly fly around our metropolitan areas that report crimes. Let me see. So you fired 1,000 rounds at him and then you try to hit him with your gun. I'm loving the blood splatter. Oh, so these are, look like mercenaries. What Cyberpunk reminds me of is Blade Runner and RoboCop and a few other sci-fi movies kind of all mixed together.
You are under arrest, dirtbag.
RoboCop, the corporation took over the Metropolitan Police Department, and we see what happens. And then it becomes a corporation police department. Private policing is just not going to work. We have to answer to the community. We should not be answering to shareholders. So I think there is no place for that. As well as too, we see in Cyberpunk, we actually see kind of the future of policing. Back when RoboCop first came out, I had told people in 20 years from now, that's what we're going to look like.
The future.
And I was almost spot on. You now see officers wearing tactical helmets in patrol. You see officers wearing outer vests. What's funny is in RoboCop, they're driving the Ford Taurus. The Explorers that we currently drive are built on the Ford Taurus chassis. So I was kind of a little off there, but kind of still right. What we're seeing in Cyberpunk, will we see that type of policing in the future? Yeah, because we're already seeing that technology being utilized. The way the officers are dressed, we're starting to see that as well. So sometimes Hollywood and game developers get it right on the future of policing. So it's going to be real interesting to see what 2077 really looks like when it finally does get here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's not too far off on some of the tech that I saw in this game. Now, I played this game a little bit myself, and I'm looking forward to actually getting this deep into the game. And if you want to see that, you can join me on my channel. However, if you liked what you saw today and you want to see more Gameology videos, hit that subscribe button down below and also hit that bell icon for instant notifications. This is Chris the Cop reminding you, peace. I hope when I play this game, it's just the AI shooters are just as bad when I play. So I can actually have some good playtime. Oh, CHP was pissed off. They were just like, because CHP does not like their freeways closed.